Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today uh I'm going to be talking about a variation which is known as the refutation line. The refutation line is what most people say is the best thing black should play against the London system. Do I feel like it's the best? No, because the refutation line makes white feel extremely passive, but I feel that white has a very comfortable position. The only problem with the refutation line is black does feel like it has some attacking chances, and you could be if you're a very passive player. Sorry, if you're a very aggressive player, this line won't work for you because you will feel like your queen is doing nothing and your pieces might look not active. So I'll start with d4, d5, knight f3. The line goes with knight f6. Knight f6, normal move. Many people think bishop f5 is coming after bishop f4, e6. It's just going to be like a mirror position. Bishop f5. Then c5. With c5, if you have been playing chess for a while, you will know you should not take this pawn. It's not a free pawn. It's a tempting pawn for sure, but don't take it. Anyone who has been playing chess for a while knows this, and this pawn is usually not worth anything because you're diverting your pawn. And next, black gets e6, attacking the pawn, winning that back by developing a piece. Or you could play knight c6 and then d4, trying to gain control. So just don't take that pawn. Play normal e6, knight f6, c3. So currently position normal. We have that solid bridge structure. If takes, then we take with the e pawn. So nothing's different here. Here comes queen. Queen comes to b6. This is the refutation line main move. Queen b6. It looks like many people. If you're playing blitz, just be careful after queen b6. You don't just hurry a move like bishop. Bishop goes to d3 or knight to d2. Obviously, you're blundering this pawn. Knight to d2 maybe is not that big of a blunder, but bishop d3 obviously just immediately loses after queen takes. You're pretty much losing this rook over here on the corner. So, or if you're not losing a rook, if you bring the knight out, then you're eventually losing this pawn. Queen can run back, and it's not bad. So if you go back, queen c2, then bishop comes to f5. Bishop f5 is a trick. Just make sure not to fall into this trick because if queen takes f5, then there's obviously queen takes b2, winning this a rook now. Now the queen is not on the last rank, so you can't defend it. So be sure not to play that move. It's a big blunder. You have absolutely no counterplay after this rook takes. Eventually, your king is also weak. You have to move up. So it's a terrible move to take. So after bishop f4, there are actually a lot of possible moves. One is bishop comes to d3. Bishop d3 is a blunder. Bishop takes, queen takes, end up hanging this pawn and the rook. So bishop c3 doesn't work out, so we can remove that. The other possible move here is to play queen to c1. Again, defending the pawn. But the queen to c1 looks very passive, which I feel is true. It is kind of passive, but queen to c1 is usually the most played move here, or you could say the best move here. The other moves are queen comes to d2, queen d2 defending the pawn, but I don't like queen d2 because your knight can come to d2, and you have this knight. You look where do you put this knight on a3? It just looks very weak. So you don't bring the knight to d2. So the last option we have is queen comes to b3. After queen comes to b3, the most obvious move with black is to play c4. Now c4, the most common move played here is queen takes queen, which comes with pawn takes. So I'll show you that. Queen takes, pawn takes. This position is better for black if you use an engine, but practically it's not easy for black to convert this game. It's a pretty drawish variation because if black plays any move like b5, like the main plan here for black is to play e6, b5, b4, and gain control. So the normal move is knight to d2, b4, a5, e6, bishop comes to e2, b5 looks like it's losing immediately, but then you just run with your king. You just immediately castle on g1, castle to g1. And now you could think that pawn takes pawn, pawn takes, you're losing a pawn. But I feel like it's not a pawn loss, it's just a temporarily sacrifice, because if pawn takes, bishop takes, you immediately get pawn takes, bishop takes. This bishop's pinned now, so you already have immediate counterplay over here. So you can directly bring the rook to. First, you have to play h3, then g4, and you feel like this bishop's pinned, so there is some temporarily weakness. This is possible, but a move which is not conventionally played, it's knight to b1. It looks like an extremely passive move, but it is the best move because after bishop takes knight, rook takes knight, this bishop is still pinned. No, now you can't attack it anymore, so that's the problem. So black usually just castles, but now you look at this rook, a rook on the seventh rank. What else do you need? This bishop is not pinned anymore. So if you like move the bishop back, the only good square is d7. But then d7 looks like it's coming somehow in the path of the rook. If I try to get some attack with knight e5, this is an extremely comfortable position for white. So the other possible move is rook takes. Rook takes is close to a blunder, because then after bishop takes, sorry, first rook takes rook, then bishop takes rook. You have rook to a1. Only move is bishop to d7, stopping after if you give check here. Bishop to b7. And now, if you see, you have a move which is almost winning. Bishop to b7. And your next move is to bring knight to e5, attack this piece which is defending that bishop. So it's a temporarily pawn sacrifice. This pawn in b7 is not useful at all, and it only gets useful after you get, excuse me, after this pawn somehow manages to reach on b5, and then you get the b4 push. But this pawn right now is extremely useless, and the counterplay you have as white is insane, not insane, humongous. Because after knight comes to e5, you get bishop f3, and you have e4 ideas, just completely toppling black's pawn structure. And this position is technically better for white. So if we go back, this is a possibility. But what I feel is the best move here instead of queen c2. Because natural move here is queen c2, defending the pawn. But what the actual best move here is just to play queen b3. Queen b3, the main line goes as c4. Black is playing c4 because, first of all, it not only attacks the queen, black wants you to exchange here, because after the exchange, it feels like the position is slightly double-edged here. And some people make the mistake of bringing the queen back to c2, which again leads to bishop f4 and attacking your queen. Then you bring your queen to c1. Queen to c1 is basically a chicken. It does nothing there. And now in this position, it's extremely hard because your bishop, the square is gone. Knight comes to d7. It's just this extremely active diagonal, which white usually has in the London, is now gone, and now your position is extremely devastated. So the correct move is to take. Many people think it's a mistake, but I don't think so. Magnus has played this many times and has got wins with white, because the plan here is simply bring the bishop to d2, bring the knight to bring the bishop to e2, knight to d2, play a3, castle. This position is solid. I've played this position against my friends a lot of times, and the results are not bad, but the results are not exceptional. This is a line which it's very hard to play for a win here, but it's definitely not a position where white is worse. So you basically, after takes, you bring knight to d2. Black tries to go the normal plan of e6, trying to get this bishop out to the d7 square. Bishop comes to d2, b4, a6, a4, and now you're just in time as you castle. Now, many of you may think, well, how is this better than the line before? Well, it's better because now, if you see this bishop here, it's not here attacking the b2 square, which usually is what white wants. Usually what white needs, the b2 square. Because after takes and takes, if bishop takes now, which is a blunder, clear one, knight to b1, and there's no way you can defend your bishop. And if rook takes, right now. Excuse me, pawn takes, rook takes. Then after rook takes, bishop takes, you have this very, I won't say winning position, but your position is not worse at all with white. This pawn, you're a pawn down for sure. But again, rook comes to a1. Excuse me, not a1. A1 is just a blunder because you blunder bishop b7, losing these two pawns. Now rook comes to a1, rook comes to b1. Now this pawn is under attack. The most common move is castle for black. But then you immediately start bringing your knight to a, not an outpost, but an extremely strong square. If knight takes knight, bishop takes, you have permanently just destroyed this bishop, which cannot move. If you push the pawn, I just take it simply. And if you don't push the pawn, how are you going to develop your rook? This bishop on a7, sorry, a6, is just a bystander. Only move is to bring it back. And now this position, again, pawn down, but black has nothing to do. It's just white who is slowly is going to improve its position. The only thing which is really now left to improve is to bring this bishop to a3 and push e4. Again, the pawn structure collapses. It's a pawn down position, but this position is where white is usually better here. So thank you for watching. The next video is probably gonna be a game from this variation, or I might just do a nice fun video of me trying to get a puzzle rush score of over 35 just for fun. I will see which one I could do. I feel it's most probably gonna just be another game from this variation. So thank you for watching. Please share and like and subscribe, and tell me how it went in the comments below. Thank you.